Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste and welcome to our Panchadasi class. We are on page 120. Last class, we were looking into the verse 14, which is going to describe the relationship between Jiva and Isvara, or in which way Isvara and Jiva are responsible for this ignorance, this cosmic ignorance. So we were having a kind of a conversation about that, on the sideline, like, but who is responsible for this ignorance, And then we say, oh, it's Maya, Maya produce all these rajas and tamas, and then it's going to affect the mind of the Jivatma. And Ishvara being before tamas, it's not affected by ignorance, it's not affected by tamas, because Ishvara, as we know, it holds its identity as pure knowledge, pure intelligence. Therefore, Ishvara, this self-conscious being, it's not affected by rajas and tamas, of course. But the Jiva, which is a creation of Ishvara, it is a fact. But it seems that Ishvara is helpless, because in order to grossify the energies to produce the physical material universe in which the Jiva-Atma appears, it needs to mix up rajas and tamas into the mixture, And then as a result, the reflecting medium of the Jiva-Atma, it has some amount of tamas there, and rajas as well, which makes it difficult for the Jiva-Atma to really appreciate the creator and the creation. So therefore, we came kind of to a conclusion that after all, so nobody is really guilty. It is what it is, and somehow it is a joint venture, so we could say. So Jivas are somehow responsible to the extent that they keep reinforcing this cosmic ignorance. And then Ishvara becomes helpless, but has to provide us with the results of our actions and thoughts, and has to make up, to adjust the jagat, our environment, from moment to moment, according to this Jiva's ignorance, which is the belief that reality is duality, and I want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that, and the Ishvara is there, oh my God, how am I going to help these guys? They want what they want, and I'm not alone here. I cannot tell them, okay, no, you are free and you have to accept your freedom. You don't need anything. But the Jews are going to say, what are you talking about? The Bible does not say that. Nobody says that in the religious circles, with the exception of the Upanishads, as we know. So at the end, so the Jivas, with its ignorance, is going to provide Ishvara with the macrocosmic body of collective vasanas, from where Ishvara is going to reset the environment, to keep shaping our environment from moment to moment. So it's a cyclical thing, So we know Ishvara is the creator and the sustainer, but Jivas are there as well as one of the pillars of the universe, which is the creator, the creation, and the creature. Jivas are there working as well. So, and for the existence of the jiva, it has to accept the ignorance. So that's why some yanis, they may say like, no, I don't want to come back here. Because in order to come back here, I have to take on all these tamas. I have to have a physical expression, and then I have to have a subtle body and the mind is going to be under the spell of a video again, because that's the name of the game. So that's why some young say, no, no, thank you. I don't want to go back there to that level of density, because it seems that there's no other way. If you want to live in here, you have to deal with tamas and rajas, conditioning the way we perceive reality. And then again, we fall for this great magician, producing this greatest delusion of reality attributed to the objects as a true, genuine source of ananda. So in the end, it doesn't matter. We don't need to find the guilt one, but for the sake of pacify our minds, we just blame Maya, because Maya is an impersonal power, and then you say, okay, it's not Ishvara. Ishvara is absolute, and it is free from the blame. At the first stage of creation, Maya's veiling power is not active. So in the first stage, so this avarana, which manifests later on as tamoguna for the jiva, this energy which manifests, as dhamma energy, it's not active. It is still manifest, but it is suppressed. It is as a potential. It is at seed, meaning to say it's not active. But the projecting power is already manifest and active, which is Rajoguna, Vikshipa, projecting. So veiling is the macrocosmic tamas, and projecting is the macrocosmic rajas. The gunas of tamas and the gunas of rajas come into manifestation later on. As I mentioned last week, gunas means the rope. They are going to tie the jiva in samsara, in ignorance, okay? So it comes later on when the jiva comes to the party. Okay, Rajas shatters the pure mirror of Maya into innumerable shards, or in other words, living creatures of jivas, and scatters them throughout the cosmos. So living creatures, intelligent creatures, or just perceiving, experiencing creatures exist throughout the cosmos. Once a jiva appears, the veiling power becomes active. Because Ishvara is prior to the appearance of Tamas, it's not deluded by Maya. As we say, as we have established, it's pure knowledge, pure sattva. For this reason, it's not possible to blame Ishvara for the evils in the world. So it's the same, on the practical level, it's the same thing. When circumstances are not according to our likes, we get upset with Ishvara, and I say we kind of blame Ishvara. And then Kama Yoga teaches us that we should never blame Ishvara, because Ishvara is a facilitator. It's just providing you with the results of your thoughts, words, and actions. So your Prarabdha karma is appearing, so that you can learn something here. Okay, so we say that Ishvara is not to be blamed for that reason. Okay, it's pure knowledge. Because of the subtle bodies of the jiva, because they are veiled by rajas, jivas are ignorant of the fact that they are free, limitless consciousness. Okay, so if we would have a lot of sattva guna, if we would be born with a highly developed spiritual soul, like Ramana, again and again, I have to bring Ramana as an example. At the very early age, he realized that he was not the mind, he was not the body, he was consciousness. Okay, so why he had a lot of sattva guna, playing in his subtle body, in his mind. So the jiva is ignorant of the fact due to excess of rajoguna operating the subtle body and consequently conditioning its reflection of consciousness, its mind. So it cannot figure out that I am free and independent from my experience. It's counterintuitive. I mean, how can someone come to that conclusion without the help of the scriptures? It's unbelievable that some people do come without the contact with the scripture, but of course it does not mean that that soul did not had contact with the scriptures in past births, incarnation. So, and then we say that if anything, we can blame the ignorance of Ishvara. Okay, the ignorance we have in respect to Ishvara is the biggest problem. Okay. We remember that, the ignorance in respect to Ishvara is the key here, because if we are totally materialistic, if we are totally ignorant in respect to the Creator, so it's almost impossible someone without a spiritual, religious inclination to understand the Lord, the Creator, that they can figure out that I am limitless, free consciousness. So we need to pass through the relationship between creator and creation to understand, and then we purify, we refine our intellects, and then we come into the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana proposed by the Upanishads. So this veiling makes the jivas to feel incomplete, and they assume that gaining up objects will serve the purpose of completing them. So this ignorance, if you cannot see yourself as the most subtle of the subtle within your existence, within your human experience, if someone would ask, what is the most subtle aspect of yourself, and then someone would think a little bit, somebody with a relatively subtle mind would think and say, oh, the most subtle aspect of my human nature, my human experience, it cannot be the physical body because it's very gross. It cannot be emotion. It's emotion. Some people say, no, it's not emotion. It's not the thoughts. It's not the intellect. What is the most subtle aspect? It's not the mind. No, it is consciousness. It is consciousness. So we have no means to get to that determination, to that sense of identity as the most subtle within my human experience. And then what we do, we define ourselves as the body and the mind, unavoidably. And then when we define ourselves as the body and the mind, immediately we feel limited and we feel incomplete, imperfect, and so on. Okay. So and then we're in trouble. So we identify with that which is limited. So this is all due to avarana, which produce tamas, and then which produce tamaguna in the mind of the jiva, which is going to compel the jiva to identify with its denser expression, which is the physical body and the subtle body. And he's going to feel incomplete, of course, limited, vulnerable, and looking for security among the other objects. Thus, the jiva develop punya and papam, tendencies, vasanas. So we have action, we interact with the world, and then we're going to be developing this credit and debit, credit karma and debit karma, karmic debit, karmic credit, okay? And then our life is going to be conditioned by our actions and our results, which is going to be conditioning my prarabdha karma, my life circumstance on a day-to-day basis. And those are the vasanas, okay? The vasanas are the results. Some of the results, they are positive results that are going to produce favorable circumstance, and some of the results of our thoughts, words, and actions are going to produce unfavorable results, which are going to be producing adversities, negative circumstance, difficult circumstance. Therefore, the world, which seems real to them, will appear to be real, but in fact, while it's in fact is value neutral. This world becomes a field of bhogam, experience, interaction that yields pleasure, sukham, and pain, dukkha to them. So where is this sukham comes and where is the dukkha comes? So if any of you could answer me that.
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit, Lindo. Say the question again.
Okay. So you have the text in front of you.
Yeah.
Therefore, the world, which seems real to the Jivas, but actually is value neutral. It's important to remember that the world is just infinite configurations of the elements. And then, therefore, due to this play of vasanas, okay, I feel incomplete. I have identified with the denser aspect of my nature. Therefore, I feel insecure, vulnerable, small, incomplete, and so on. And then I chase objects aiming to accomplish completion. So in that way, by the way, I'm chasing objects. If I chase it in a dharmic way, I somehow develop favorable results, punya. If I break the rules and I chasing the object of desire because I'm under the spell of Maya, ignorance, it's all under the spell of ignorance, but I can still, under the spell of ignorance, pursue objects in a dharmic manner. That would produce what? Favorable circumstance, punya. Yeah? That is a definition, a beautiful summary of the play of life. So, and then vasanas are formed, and we go through our lives, which is nothing but meeting the results of our actions, okay? And then the paragraph says, therefore, the world, which seems real to the jiva, but actually is value neutral, becomes a field of experience and are going to yield pleasure. It's going to yield pleasure, sukha, and pain. So the jiva is going to be gaining pleasures and pains. Yeah? Favorable, beautiful results, it's going to produce sukha, and then unfavorable results are going to produce dukkha, which is pain. So my question at the point, but maybe by now I already answered my question, is like, where is this sukha and dukkha coming?
It's coming from results. Results we want through our vasanas is coming the sukha, and the dukkha is coming from results we don't want.
Okay.
I had a thought that the reason that you see something not as value neutral, but as sukham and dukkham, is probably because of that sense of limitation. So it makes us anxious and all that, because we know we're incomplete, but to know you're incomplete, you must have a basis of knowing completeness. So it's a frustration that drives it, really, because here you are, whole and complete, but what's all this about? You have that innate sense of who you are all the time. I don't think it is apart from anybody, or else it wouldn't drive you to complete yourself.
Yeah.
and get the palm of sukham and dukkam.
Yeah. So this, you present a very nice, beautiful, and profound angle, which is like the search for completion. It comes from a sense of incompletion, but which includes the fact that you know that there is such a thing of completion, and you only know things that somehow you have experienced somehow. You know, you have a clue that it must be my fundamental nature, completion. And this is a very nice angle to look into it. So the jiva is going to experience pleasure, sukhan, and pleasure, sukhan, and pain, dukkhan. So where are these sukhan and dukkhan coming from? We know they do not come from the objects of experience. You know, they are going to come by my likes and dislikes being met or not met. So I just ask this question to make sure that we understand that the results, they are always unavoidably objects of experience, and the sukha and dukkha do not come from the results. It comes from our mental state, okay, under a spell of ignorance. And then every time I get what I want, I experience pleasure. And every time I don't, I experience pain. So it comes from my ignorance, okay? Both sukhan and dukkha comes from my ignorance, comes from a mind who depends on my likes and dislikes to be met so that I can be satisfied and happy, okay? So everything comes from ignorance. Of course, there is no sukhan and dukkha because, as it says here, everything, every objective experience is value neutral, and we know that because what is going to give sukhan to Mark may not give sukhan to Lin, you know, and so on. Okie dokie. Jivas are therefore at mercy of the Ishvara, of the Ishvara in the form of the world. So Jivas are therefore at the mercy of Ishvara in the form of the world. Yeah, so it means to say the Jivas now, they due to this fundamental ignorance, they depend on Jagata, which is a physical manifest expression of Ishvara, the world. It's going to depend on the world for the sake of learning and find completion. In the beginning, trying to find by accomplishment or gaining objects of desire until one grows in maturity and understanding. So the jiva is at mercy of the Ishvara in the form of the world. You have a better interpretation of this last sentence, which seems a bit strange the way it's constructed.
It does seem strange because it seems to me that Rajas and Tamas, not Ishvara.
Yeah.
We're at the mercy of Rajas and Tamas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if Ishvara is the creator,
Jivas are therefore at the mercy of the Ishvara, is a bit Ishvara in the form of the world. So Jivas are therefore at mercy of Jagata. Okay, why? Because I depend on Jagata to find completion until I realize that I don't depend on the world to find completion, because completion is my very nature. So it could be on those lines. So let's see what it goes on saying here. Ishvara is not an experiencer. It's not a big person situated in the spiritual realms. Although primitive religions invariably personify Ishvara, it's just an impassible power or being that creates the material objects and the jivas, and indifferentiately delivers to the jivas the results of their behavior, of their action, the thoughts, and so on. Ishvara is not fickle like jivas. Ishvara does not change its mind because Ishvara does not have really a mind. Ishvara is a system. Ishvara does not develop preference to certain jivas. Okay, so it just sees everything as jivas. Now, from the from the virus and bacteria and germs and occupying our interior body, to complex organisms such as the body, in which through which we experience the world. So Ishvara is not fickle like Jivas, does not have preference. But often we see it in that way. So when you see somebody having a good time, you say, oh, you were really graced by Ishvara. No? So Ishvara, you got the blessings of Ishvara. Look what a beautiful life Ishvara has considered to you. No? So it means Ishvara had already a certain preference towards you. No, Ishvara simply delivers us our merits and demerits. No? When it delivers unwanted desires, results, Ishvara is feared. So we see like, oh, and is also hated, or feared. And when it delivers wanted results, we love and worship the Lord. Very common this. Whatever the Jivas don't think about is not part of their karma. Whatever they do think about is the result of their karma. So this is another passage that it's not absolutely clear to me. Whatever the Jivas do not think about is not part of the karma. So we think about something, we desire something, maybe, we would like to experience something other than what I am experiencing. But then we have to remember, no, if it's not here, it is because it's not part of my prarabdha karma. So whatever Jivas think, because there is much of these notions that the power of thinking, positively, so that you attract the results that you wish to have. So we know that only the thoughts of what I want does not bring about what I want. It requires the thought, of course, and then a positive attitude, a certain understanding of the system, and then my words and my actions, and I in harmony, aiming to that results as well, hopefully that the desired results in harmony with Dhamma, of course. So whatever Jivas do not think about, don't think about, is not part of the karma. But here is don't think. So if I think something and it's not here, it's not part of my karma as well. And if I don't think, of course, it's not part of my karma. Whatever they think about is a result of their karma. So it's a little bit vague, this passage to me. I have made a note because we can think about many things, and then we're going to be experience that thought, but that thought may not manifest as a gained result. I may wish to have something that I don't have. We can think about anything, and this is already a result by itself. I have this desire. The desire is already a manifestation of my prarabdha karma, but I want my desire to be fulfilled physically, materially. So it's one of those passages that could have been better elaborate as a commentary. So
Arlindo, do you think that it's saying that that thoughts just appear based on our vasanas, which are based on our karma, and that we really don't, we can meet them with a sattvic mind or a rajasic or a tamasic mind, but they're not really in your control. What thoughts, I'm sometimes totally amazed at the thoughts I think that don't seem part of my character, or and there they are. So they must have been the result of some past karma.
Yeah.
And if I don't think about them, I just don't have that vasana coming up.
Yeah. Even though, there may be a thought thought, desiring thought, let's say, as a subtle vasana operating in one's mind, but yet we have a certain power to abandon them, to just to let it alone and not follow the tendency, we renounce those great ideas. So, yeah, as I said, it seems to me vague, this passage, and could be omitted or further elaborated, okay? The Jivas subtle bodies. Yes, Mark, you're going to say something?
I was thinking in both those sentences, we could almost change the word karma for vasana. It was like Lynn said, the vasanas form the karma. And perhaps the sentence would make more sense then.
Yeah. Whatever the Jivas do not think about, it's not part of their vasana load. Yeah. Whatever they do think about is a result of their vasana load. And it would make much more sense. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. There are tendencies because the thing here is about thoughts. Okay. Yeah. Our thinking process is a byproduct of our tendencies to think, designing and so on. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it helps. It makes to make sense to this passage here. The Jiva's subtle bodies are colored by biases, opinions, beliefs, fantasies, knowledge, good knowledge and bad knowledge. It is subjective experience. Its subject experience is called Jiva's duality or Jiva's creation. Ishvara's duality and Jiva's duality are only apparently different. Okay. So Jiva's subtle bodies are colored by vasanas or biases, opinions, beliefs, fantasies, wishful thinking, good knowledge, bad knowledge, and so on. So our experience, our subjective experience are going to create Jiva duality or Jiva's pratibhasika satya, this subjective order of reality, which is experienced uniquely somehow to one's body of vasana. Every jiva is going to have this unique experience. Okay, so it's said to be jiva's creation or jiva's duality. Which is jiva's duality? Jiva and jagata, and it's being experienced by the jiva, but it's being experienced through one's mind, one's vasanas, one's body-mind complex, which is a program. And then we experience through our vasanas. So that is the creation or duality. The creation of the jiva is a superimposition on Vyavaharika. Vyavaharika Satya is the reality, is the 5 elements, boom, being configured in a way to produce infinite numberless objects in the universe, which leave their impressions in the mental world as well, okay, as thoughts and memories, ideas. And so we have this reality of the 5 elements producing the world. And then the interaction of the jiva with this pratibhasika, with Vyavaharika, is going to develop experience. Experience are going to be retained as impressions. Those impressions are going to be kept in the causal body, and they are going to form one's biases, one's notions, ideas, and tendencies, and predisposition, propensities, and so on. So good knowledge, bad knowledge, everything is there. And it's in the causal body, but it's going to what? It's going to affect or color our subtle body. Okay, our subtle body is going to be under the influence of our tendencies, our notions. But we see the world through this lens. So this is the duality. This is the creation of the jiva, is the duality of the jiva. And then we saw before that Ishvara's duality is a different duality. No, it appears to be different. And here again, it says the duality between Ishvara's creation and Jiva's creation is only apparently different. And again, it's not elaborated. Okay, so most of these commentaries here, Ramji, at those days, Ramji was listening to these audios from Swami Paramarthananda. I remember he used to spend a lot of time preparing for the first Panchadasi seminar he did. And he used to take notes. Nowadays, we have all those teachings compiled in written format, okay? So on those days, Ramji used to take notes, and then he used to present it like that, very concise without much elaboration. So I'm sure that if we would go back and see the words of Swami Paramarthananda, there would be much more elaboration, because he never leaves loose ends. He always go and wrap and wrap and wrap and elaborating. Yeah? So what is the duality of Ishvara? Duality of Ishvara is simple, is the creator and the creation in which the Jivas appear. And Ishvara sees everything as just numberless configurations of the elements, which begins with the three qualities, three gunas, three energies, So that is one duality, one creation, Ishvara and the world of the elements. And then Jivas are going to experience with this Vyavaharika and then develop mental, emotional impressions, and then vasanas, and then it's going to have this subjective relationship with Jagata in a unique way, which is the way Jiva experienced this duality. From the standpoint of Ishvara and the world, the physical material world. From the standpoint of the Jiva, is the experiencing entity and the world that he perceives according to its program. We have to remember, human beings are programs. We are biologic, organic programs, okay? And we are programmed by what? By vasanas. And then that takes us to a very, very modern kind of discussion, because we are in the era of technology. And there is a lot of talk about joining, merging the organisms, the human organisms, with some programs by implants. So you can have a lot of intelligence if you download through some implants. So you can speak many languages. You have these, a lot of things. Science can improve as well. But then what's happening? We are bringing in artificial intelligence to make the human being more productive, more intelligent, more efficacious, and so on. And then what is the downside? The human being is going to experience the world through a program. And what is the difference between the program of human beings 100 years ago or 200 years ago and the humans of the future, if all of that are going to come to manifest? Is that before, the program was altogether in the hands of each jiva and its effort to extract understanding from this interaction with the field, which is but the five elements. You understand? So this interaction is creating an opportunity for us to extract determinations, assertions, and then I develop my subtle body, my causal body, and then I'm programmed, but I am pretty much in control of my program or responsible for my program. You understand? Because it's my interaction in my assertions and determinations and discernments that I have that is going to help me to develop my causal body and subtle body, and then I experience duality according to my program. But the Jiva is totally responsible for the way. Of course, then we have to say, but then culture is already a program, and then it passes its programs and so on. But everything is dynamically and organically natural. It's a natural process. But the moment that we're gonna have one program. We come already with one program, which is a program of being a human being, not an elephant, for example, okay, or chicken. And then within that, we develop a program, you know, by this interaction with our culture, with our environment, and now we live in a globalized world. So the culture became global. Yeah? We know about everything here and there, what we can know. Yeah? But just imagine, on top of that, now we start hooking ourselves up with programs, you know, chips, and then my pratibhasika, my duality, the experience I have of the world, is no longer a result of my merits or my determinations. It's a result I got this program now. Okay, how did you get it? Oh, I had a friend and he hooked me up with some very nice downloads. Okay, now I have all these visions, I have all this understanding, I have all this knowledge. You understand? So where is the merit? Oh no, I was hooked up because my father is at the government level. So let's say, okay. So and then the human being does not count as much in its program. Okay, so we want to be free to develop our program. The life is the Jiva Atma, which is organic, biologic creature, living creature, programmed by its vasanas. But Ishvara does not give a program, you know, just arbitrarily to one or the other. You know, it's the play of the Jiva with Jagata, which is going to determine one's vasana load on one's program. Okay.
But can't you say that the Jagata also includes this expansion of knowledge, and your karmas place you here in a time when, I mean, the social media situation, all that going on, and it's just continually expanding into that. And the problem is, of course, that human beings are so messed up. Then you create a program, and then it's garbage in, garbage out. So it would be ghastly.
The key problem there, Lynn, is like we have a program. We are programmed beings, yeah. But then we have to ask, who is the programmer? Okay, so the programmer is we can say it's God, or it's a play between God and Ishvara and Jiva. Okay, that's going to produce this program. So our thoughts, words, and actions are going to produce vasanas. Vasanas are going to produce our prarabdha karmas, and then we are being programmed, but the Jiva is fully participating in its program. Okay, now when we have a Jagat, a culture, an environment that is hooked up with artificial intelligence, and these programs being downloaded in the mind of people, who is the programmer? Who is the programmer? Okay, the program is not anymore just a free interaction between Jiva and Jagat, but the programs are the people, you know, that are implanting this or that downloads. You understand? And we can never trust people, as James often says, because people have an agenda. Okay, so I prefer to be left alone and develop my program in between my interaction with Jagata, you know, and Ishvara, as it provides me with a parabada. Now, if the Jagata, the Dharma field now brings in these downloads, these programmings like that, I want to know who is the programmer, and if this program is really coming from a source of Dharma, a source of wisdom that is designed for the overall benefit of society, you understand? Not for the benefit of corporations, not only for profit, you understand? So that is my take on all of that. And that's why I'll always do my best to stay away from this merge between intelligent organisms and artificial intelligence. Does it make sense, Lynn?
Well, except that we just read that Ishwara's duality and Jiva's duality are only apparently different. So if the Jagat produces that, of course, Jiva has preferences based on karma, based on vasanas, based on the thoughts that come up. So we were just thinking, but yeah, it's still Ishwara.
It is still Ishwara, but extreme ignorance is not to be blamed on Ishwara, but it's blamed on Jivas that want to full power and control. Another angle to look into this thing is like, if tomorrow we have human beings hooked up with all these programs and this download that makes one extremely efficient, and productive, okay? But still, it's a program. So where is the free will playing there? Once your program, okay, it is very, very strong, very powerful, very much dependent on this other reality, so where is the free will? Because we are programmed as living, free, organic, biological organisms. We are programmed through this interaction with the Dharma field, okay? But in the process of programming myself, I have all the time the free will at my disposal. So the Jiva Atma always have the option to reprogram itself. When we come to Vedanta, we begin a process of reprogramming. We want to see the world from this vision, from this angle, from this perspective of the Upanishads, okay? And the Gita. So we are reprogramming ourselves, okay? But it's a program. No, but this is a program that's going to help you to realize your true nature, which is before or beyond any programs, you understand? So you need to have a good program, okay?
Yeah.
So now, when we are hooked up and we are fully operative with a lot of downloads, so it is my common sense, my sense tells me that the human free will is somewhat compromised in there, okay? Because a program is something that has you, okay?
So it'd be more like being in swapna avastha.
In what?
More like being in a dream state.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been there, and I wish I would.
Neither. It's a strange tangent we're on.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I'm not going to get hooked up with all this technology, artificial intelligence. You understand? But the new generation are all for it. My son is all for it, from what I understood. You understand?
We could ask Swami Paramarthananda to make a program for us. That would be okay.
Yeah, because after all, we have to trust on the programmer, okay, and the intent, the motivation behind the programs. We know that the world is changing very, very fast, and human beings have become somewhat obsolete because the machines and artificial intelligence. It's said that in 2050 will take 75% of the jobs nowadays available to human beings. You understand? In 2030, they say that it's going to be 30 or 35%. Okay, so when we see that everything is automated, okay, I don't know if that's the way to say, automated. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Okay, so we have to be automated as well to be part of the society, so that we can. Otherwise, we're gonna be left out. Yeah? So this is a strange conversation. But some people, they are very much already into it. The young generation, they find it cool. They find it great. Okay, maybe I'm an old style man. But I have my reasons not to trust the programmers there. What do you think, Mark?
I'm definitely on your side of the fence, Linde. Yeah, definitely. They're not going to program me, not if I can help it.
Yeah.
I use this as my programming.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Okay. The verse 14. In the Vedas, there is a description of duality that is created by taking the self to be a jiva. It says, by thought and action, jiva creates 7 kinds of food. So they talk about food, they call it about 18 mouths. You know, as we know, we consume experience. So what is the food of the mind? Now, when we look in terms of mind, what is the food of the mind? Experience. Yeah? So the mind feeds on experience. Without experience, the mind feels so bored. Yeah? So we have 18 mouths, meaning to say the 5 sense, the 5 pranas, the physiological system, the 5 organs of actions, and then we have the intellect, we have the ego, and we have the memory system. The intellect, the mind, the intellect, and the memory, if I'm not wrong. And so this is mind, intellect, and ego. Yeah, the ego is not really, yeah, the ego is not really a mouse by which we consume experience. The ego is more the integrator of this experience through the 5 senses, the sense of actions, and the intellect, and the pranas, our experience on the energetic physiological level. The ego is the one who's going to own those experiences. Okay, it's not really much a mouse by which we consume experience. No? But anyhow, so food means objects of experience, as we know. Yeah? We are like rats. Remember, Ramji saying that human beings is like a rat, all the time consuming experience. Yeah? And the rats, when they stop consuming experience, they end up killing themselves because they have something with the teeth that goes, has to be, you know about that, Lynn? You heard about that. So human beings are now much different in the sense that without experience, it almost goes crazy. Try to put someone who is totally dependent on consuming experience in a small cell in a prison, alone, without any experience except those 4 walls. People often go crazy there. It's one of the biggest torture for a human being. Starvation from experience. So there is nothing for the self to experience. But the Jiva Atma depends on experience because he's totally identified as the mind, which is a consumer of experience. So the self is the essence of the Jiva Atma, which is the experiencing entity totally dependent on experience. However, the Jiva Atma does not know that his essential free nature is consciousness. Why? Because Maya operates and then brings about the reflected consciousness, and then the reflect consciousness, the Jiva Atma, identifies which is its inferior, denser nature, and then it's oblivious of its essence, its nature, as non-experiencing principle, and then it seeks experience as the same way we seek food to keep the body alive. Okay, so the food that Jiva Atmas depend upon for surviving is objects of experience, and I think it's very clear for us. That's why we have great appreciation without much understanding when we see a real wise person who is a yogi, who sits quiet. I mean, I have to bring Ramana Maharaj again and again, because he was really one of the most beautiful creatures, you know. So someone who can just sit without needing to do much in terms of consuming experience, you know, and being totally happy and satisfied, you know. So we have appreciation, because as we see people, they are just running around trying to consume some experience all the time, without which they feel miserable. So as mentioned, the awakening state Jiva is inveterate consumer. In the Mandukya Upanishads, it is said that it has 18 mouths. That's 10 sense organs. The organs of action, the organs of reception make 10 sense organs. And then the pranas, the 5 pranas as well, makes 15. And then the mind, the intellect, and the ego. Okay, so those are the mouths. Yeah? So why it is the mouths? Because we have this experience through our sense organs of reception. Okay, and then when we respond, we have an experience. Okay, through our 5 organs of action as well. You know, so all of that is a source of experience to us, and then the 5 physiological system, a source of different kinds of experience. So we experience the world through these 15 mouths, and then we experience the world through the thoughts and emotions that appear in the mind, and then we experience the world through our determinations, our discriminations, our assertions, you know, decisions. Okay, and then the ego comes there, which is more like I experience the world through my sense of doership. Okay, so yes, maybe we can say the ego is again a way from where by which I experience the world, and I consume my experience. I consume experience, you know, according to my my, how you say, my self-image, my ego, my self-image. If I have a high self-image, and experience is going to make me feel high. If I have a low self-image, which is the ego, suffering of this sense of smallness, I'm going to have unpleasant experience in any case. Yeah. Okay. So anything from you? Any commentaries? Any complaints? Milk is for the lower animals, and mind, speech, and the vital airs are for the self. These are the 7 kinds of foods. So we're gonna go a little bit of that. This is not much relevant, and but we're gonna read it and move on. But we're gonna wait until next Monday. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my good friends and the students. We meet again this coming Thursday, the same time. Yeah. And Isvara willing. Goodbye. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Arlindo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arlindo.
Today is Swami Dayananda's birthday.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Okay. Nice.
He
Yeah.
would be today, if he was alive, huh? He would be somewhere close to 90, possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He died, he was already 82, 83, and it was about 7 years ago at least, yeah.
Wow.
6, 7,
Yeah.
yeah. Okie dokie.
Mm.
See you later, alligator.
Yeah. Bye now.
Bye-bye.